Hang on, John. I'm trying again on the live part. Oh, it says we're live on Facebook.
There we go.
You know, I'll tell you, it's been, and we are live on Facebook. I'm going to blame you, Jon Dwoskin, for being live on Facebook because.
Why is that? Why is that?
So, welcome, Jon Dwoskin, to my small business spotlight.
Thanks. Thanks, Sarah, for having me.
You know, it's so funny because, you know, people come to me and they think I know all about technology until I start trying to do my own things, you know,
Right.
But I think like well, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but, you know, Zoom has been around for a long time. Facebook Live has been around for a long time, but now everybody is using these technologies, and especially during the pandemic. And I laugh every time I go to do these, you know, these little things. There's always a little glitch here and there. And
you're always the glitch.
And I laugh because my clients who are small businesses have, you know, it's been the thing we've been talking so much about. So, but the reason I'm going to kill you is because you make me go out of my box all the time. So
you're doing a great job.
Here we are in the box.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Sari.
Well, thanks for coming on. And I absolutely wanted to have you on because, you know, the reason I really talked to you about this and wanting to do it was it seems so appropriate at this time to talk to small businesses, family businesses, all about, you know, the shift that they all had to make back in March.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a crazy time. No one would have predicted it. And now they're starting to reopen. They have to reopen differently. I wanted to get a little bit of perspective from you, you know, what you're hearing, what you're dealing with as people are coming to you and trying to figure out it's going to be a really old saying soon, but that new norm, you know, how they're handling their businesses.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me on the show. And, you know, one of the things, there's many things that I'm seeing right now, Sari, and that's, but to start kind of from the beginning, I would say companies really realized once the pandemic hit right around March 12th, March 13th, and overnight, they had to figure out a way to work remotely, connect with their people. And many companies, regardless of the size, small, medium, large, just enormous companies, who had been trying to figure out how to do flex time and allow people to work remotely, which was really pushed by the millennial generation who wanted a little bit more work-life balance, right? Can I wake up, spend time with, you know, my pets, my family, et cetera, work hard, play harder, right? And it was very foreign, and companies couldn't figure it out. Well, now they had about a week to figure it out. And many companies figured it out quickly using technology, like we talked about. But many companies who were already very connected to their values had an easier time transferring to working more seamlessly with their people because they had the right management team in place. They had systems and processes in place. Everything was anchored in the values. Companies who talked about people first. As a business coach, I was doing workshops all over the country via Zoom on just workshops on how people can take care of themselves, because that's where companies wanted to make sure that everyone's mindset was in the right space. And you really don't see that, right? Sometimes you see that for a couple of minutes of a workshop, but not multiple workshops dedicated to figuring out, you know, how they can best get through this so they can be efficient and effective. So first and foremost, companies realized who weren't connected to their values, they needed to get connected to their values. They needed to make sure that all the right people were in the right seats. There was, they needed to make sure that their management team were correct. many people found that, it's very common that people get promoted to a manager because they were good at their job, but they're not good at managing people. Well,
Mhm.
in these last 3 months, you really had to know how to connect emotionally with people, have empathy, while still holding them accountable and doing their job, and being very caring in the same time, and still very forgiving and understanding. So that's kind of like the foundation, really looking at your people and knowing where the gaps are. So as we come out of this, companies are basically reinventing their playbook. Everybody's playbook is new. And so they're going back to the basics. What is our mission? What is our message? What are our company values? What is our internal brand? Not only our external brand. Are we connected to the people, and are they feeling connected to the company?
Do
And
you
then last,
feel do
yeah,
you feel that some of those managers are worried because, they're not necessarily bringing their people back? I mean, the connection has to be a lot of this virtual. And, for some people, connecting virtually is a little hard. Um,
it's hard when you manage people and you don't understand people or how to manage them, what makes them tick, and you don't
mhm,
understand what their driver is of what gets them up in the morning. And so if you're the right type of manager that isn't just, do A, B, and C, but you understand your people and how to inspire them and get the most out of them. A lot of times when I'm training managers, I'll ask them, you manage, two people, five people, you manage 10 people, 50 people, hundreds of people. Can you go down a list and tell me what every person you manage, what their driver is? What gets them up in the morning? Most managers have no clue what I'm talking about and
mhm.
have no idea. And so you really as a manager have to be intuitively connected to your people and know how to talk to the masses, right? Zoom out and talk to the masses, and then zoom in and have a really solid player coach one-on-one model where you can re-articulate something to that person in their language, because everybody's driver has tentacles of different words and language that they need to hear and get inspired. And so that's a really important piece of businesses. So, some people may be listening and saying, well, we don't have managers. It's me and I have a couple employees. Well, then you manage them. And now it's being connected to your people, because people are going to want different things now. People are going to want to work from home, and they can be productive. They can be profitable. And the next layer, I just want to comment on this real quickly. I mean, there's so many pillars and layers we go into, but it's about also looking at revamping. Okay, what's my 3-year plan? Narrow that down to a 1-year plan, narrow that down to a quarterly plan, and really zoom into your 90-day business plan. The world's changing very quickly right now. It was
Yeah.
changing already quickly. This accelerated everything. And so having a very specific and measurable business plan for every person in the company, and having that business plan be a living document on how to execute daily and what metrics to look at, that is really key.
Well, I agree, because I mean, you and I've talked about that living document and
Right.
that how it has to change and how people weren't really ready for that. I mean, nobody can anticipate,
Right.
um, you can't anticipate the economics of 2008. You can't anticipate a pandemic. But I think that right now, and it's one of the things that I've certainly spent a lot of time lately talking to my clients about, we keep talking about something might happen in the fall. And if it does or if it doesn't, let's be ready. And
Correct.
I think that the bottom line is that, you've talked now to your clients, I've talked to my clients, things can happen. It's that plan for a rainy day. If the
Right.
rain doesn't come, great.
Right.
But the bottom line is that, the living document of, be a planner, and the living document of, how we're going to do business, how we're going to do business differently
Right.
is the key to being far more successful than your competition.
Right.
And more importantly, because I often don't worry about my clients' competition. I worry about their growth,
Right.
and so you know, I think like that's, I know who my, for instance, I know who my client's competition is. Great.
Right.
But it's really always about their own growth. Where do they want to grow? And
Right.
I think that right now, what we're going to see, and I think you hit on it, is that people are going to be working differently. We're going to bring some people back. Some people are going to stay at home. So every individual, every worker is going to have a little bit of a different game plan.
Yeah. Everybody, it's going to be different, and not because, yes, the pandemic spurred it, but it was on the verge of happening anyway. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to go back to something you said. You can't plan for stuff that happened, but you kind of can plan for stuff that happened. Everybody's been kind of riding this wave, waiting for the market to adjust. We're past our kind of cyclical, time frame. For everybody's been kind of saying like, when's the shift's going to come? When's the shift going to come? So I think companies now at their quarterly meetings, at their monthly meetings, have to have the plan B, the plan C, the plan D. If this happens, what is the protocol? And so that to me that's something that should have always been done. And I think it was rarely done. And I think what this does is, pre-COVID studies were showing that by the year 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist do not exist today. And by 2025, 75% of the global workforce will be millennials. That's a fact. And that doesn't even include the Gen Zs, which they say is just going to be the greatest generation ever. And I'm not just saying it because my kids are Gen Z. But and so you take that, and now this all accelerated.
And creating, as you just said, because I think it's important to reiterate, jobs that we don't even know about.
Correct.
But I think that so many of them are going to come out of, like you can say, when bad things happen. Like
Right.
I'm watching
crisis, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching through so many of my own clients that are family business second generations,
Yeah.
where these were my own clients or community businesses, and in particular small businesses, where they have to create within their businesses new jobs within the structure of their businesses.
Right. Well, you're talking about, and so based on the stats that I just mentioned, that's why colleges have already been meeting and talking about how do we teach to a world that we don't know what the jobs are. How do we teach to that? So what they've been doing is teaching. They've been kind of trying to figure out how to teach adaptability. You talk adaptability, you see a lot of change going on in the world right now. I mean, not in the world, yes, in the world, but even locally, like, all camps were canceled, and my kids go to camp. My son is a varsity tennis player, so he started teaching tennis lessons. He started his own business. He has his two friends, right? Two groups of friends starting day camps. He's got, people just kind of adapt quickly.
You see that, but like on my own Facebook this week, I was watching high school seniors popping up with, you just said, like, it's probably these kids that we both know, but these kids they're in a position, they're forcing themselves to become entrepreneurs.
Correct. They're forcing themselves to become entrepreneurs, right?
And they're brilliant.
Yeah, they're so smart.
They're so smart.
And it leads to this. So right now, as we come out of this pandemic, companies and people kind of fall into a couple different tranches, right? You have people that will come and become stable and be okay. You have some that are just destroyers, that are the woe is me, the victim, they just can't get out of their own way. And then you have the resilient crew, right? The resilient crew are the ones that say, okay, how does this look different? What do we need to do to adapt? Where is the market going? And then reverse engineering how they can adapt. I interviewed a guy named Jeff Fenster. He came up with this acai bowl concept, and he's franchising it now. It's exploding. And during the pandemic, he didn't know what to do. So he started doing like Blue Apron, sending it to people's homes so you could mail order it and make it yourself. He would have never done that had it not been for the pandemic. And so so the key to come out of this, and the key, in my opinion, for the next decade is daily resilience, daily adaptability, and daily consistent execution. That's the recipe. Doesn't matter what the product, what the company, what it is. And if companies don't have the people to think like that, to grow like that, then you have to figure out who those people are. Right now, because of what's happened, geographic boundaries really mean nothing. Meaning, I don't need to hire, if I'm in Detroit, I don't need to hire a VP of sales in Detroit. I can hire a VP of sales in wherever, you name the state around the country, that can manage remotely and connect with people, right? I work with clients all over the country, and I'm not face to face in front of them, but it's still really productive.
And I think that that's the biggest key that we all knew, but I think that's what's shined in the positive light of what's happened in the last 3 months. I think, people have worried about working from home. Will I lose my job, or, am I a relic? And I've really looked at it like, you might go back to your office cubicle, so to speak, but you might also, what I've said is this is an opportunity for huge growth. Huge growth. Because you now really, and you and I've talked about this, that you can be sitting one place and service so many more people globally. Correct. But you can't get in your own way.
Can't get in your own way. The key is, the market was the world was, I'm not saying things were easy. Nothing is easy. But a lot of us took things for granted, right? It was just, things were happening. And so now it's really about the daily grind, the daily consistent execution. If you go and just look at any company, and you go and you look at all the people within the company, the people that are executing consistently, that have the leaders, the managers that can inspire them to stay consistent, which is very, very difficult, right? If I said to a group of 100 people, say thank you every day for the next 100 days to 3 people, and I'll give you $1,000, I bet maybe one would do it. Life gets in the way, you forget. Consistency is very difficult, but that's the secret, because the same level of consciousness that got us to where we are is not the same level of consciousness that's going to get us where we need to be. We must all raise our level of consciousness, frequency, vibration to cater into this new world.
Yeah, I mean, I have to thank you, because I think you and I've had these, off Facebook Live conversations really about doing things differently to go forward.
Right.
And I really have utilized that messaging, within my own workforce, with my own clients, because it's really given me that push to say, like, hey, look what happened. Who would have thought? But yeah, things happen. But we're going to do things different. We are not, this is like a big push. And, I've looked around. I mean, this has been really fun to talk to small businesses. I've been so impressed in not just our own community, because this has been fun to talk to, people around the country about how the different cities have handled, their own businesses. But it's very interesting to find that the small businesses have that drive, sometimes more than those larger companies. And
well, they have to, yeah.
And it's a survival. Sometimes it's a survival, but I love that, there's also that community, cheerleading aspect of it. And, I've really enjoyed our conversations.
Good question. I just want to comment one thing. It's not so much about being different, because it's just about getting current. And I think a lot of companies, a lot of people, don't do what you're doing, what I'm doing, right? I do lives 5 days a week. You're doing live. How often are you doing them?
Well, Jonathan, you and I talked about that. I was going to do it twice a week. That
Okay,
was
good.
like way out of my comfort zone.
Right.
I am now booked every
Yeah.
day in June.
Oh, good, good, good for you. Right. So, but my point is it's about being current, right? This is how
Mhm.
people receive information. You know, they
Yeah.
they say studies show that a 30-second video is equivalent to 3.5 million words read. The attention span of a human being is less than a goldfish, roughly around 8 seconds,
I know.
7 seconds. And so, unless you and when you do lives, it's real time, right? There's no editing, right? We make a mistake, we make a mistake. Who cares,
No, right.
right? And so, but it's about getting current and utilizing the technology. And this is my only point I wanted to get across. Companies, people who are running companies, et cetera, need to raise the level of courage that they have to do it. It takes planning. It takes some courage. It takes leaving your
It,
ego at the door, and it takes some
no,
planning. And then
it
you,
is.
and then you jump in.
I've said to you, like anything I do where I'm showing my face or it's me, I always really think about it because my whole public relations is always about my client. So
Right,
it's not about me. And so, I'm doing all of this because I just want to talk to people. I want to talk to my clients. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what the community is doing. So it's really been fun.
right. But
And
let me
so
just say this: there's no shame in being a conscious capitalist and doing it to. I'm the same way. Like I do. I think I do it. It's like a master's class. I love it. I mean, I love it. But it's also a way for me to grow my brand with people who know me or don't know me, so I can help more people in the world.
mhm.
And so I just don't want that to get lost because you're so good at your craft.
Well, I
It's
I
great.
mean,
I'm giving you a little plug. It's great to, but it's great to give. I'm a giver, right? I mean, you can go to my website. There's so much content, but 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 I also never want to lose the subtle message of I'm a business coach and I can help grow your company. And companies today, if you look at another thing of how to stay consistent, you need people like you, Sari, to brainstorm, come up with ideas, how to, look at things more currently to get the attention. Right now, we're all fighting for everybody's attention, and
no,
PR,
and
marketing are so important. So just,
I so appreciate that. Of
yeah,
course. I mean, I have amazing colleagues in the city. I always say this, like, there is enough business for all of us.
yeah,
So, I welcome my businesses, 99% referral. And so I'm happy to meet and talk to people. And I always hope it's a fit. And, I appreciate that. And I have, my clients are my family. So, I love that. But, the truth is that I think right now, God bless, I'm busy. There's always room for more. The bottom line is that right now, what the reason I'm busy and hope to stay busy is people need to make sure they're on brand. They
right,
need to be telling their story.
correct,
Like everything, it's a different way of doing it. I mean,
right,
this is my home office. You're in your home office. Um, I probably won't be leaving my home office to go into a studio anytime soon. I have had clients on TV or radio, two or three every day this week and last week, and I'm coaching them by radio. Or I'm sorry, by phone, or you're doing it by Zoom. I mean, that is our way of life. And even for me back in March, as much as I use Zoom and the telephone, I still met people at Starbucks or their offices and things like
yeah.
that. And that,
I started some face-to-face meetings, and people outside. They've been great.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I really haven't that much yet. But I need to. I mean, you know, eventually I will. And, but I'll say, like, for me, it, as busy as I always felt like I am, I feel like it's such a different busy. And I've talked to so many of my colleagues where I feel like everybody's working harder differently.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like a key message. Um, and everybody has to keep doing that.
Yeah.
It's a different way of life, and it's not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so you know, you and I've talked about this. You need to reach out to experts.
You need to
You
reach out.
know,
Everybody needs to have, yeah.
please don't do this alone.
Well, regardless, and I tell people this all the time, I don't care if it's me, I don't care if who it is, but you need at least 3 mentors in your life to help you evolve, right? Otherwise, to me, life is boring.
You just hit on my very last question, because
Okay.
I know that you have to jump on you're going to leave me to jump on all of your live Facebook lives this afternoon. And so I want to do one thing. One, Jon is everywhere. So you need to go to his website, jondwoskin.com. He's on Instagram, Facebook Live every day. There's so much. First of all, with Jon, there is an incredible amount of free content. Jon, you know, you give away the store. You really do.
I give away a lot. Yeah.
We've talked about that. But I mean, Jon really has so many tips. You can write them down. His blogging, there's so much to learn from him. But please, you know, Friday now you're doing at what, 8:30? Is it?
I do. Yeah, I have Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube lives every Monday through Friday, 12 to 12:30 Eastern, and then I do office hours every Friday from 8 to 8:30 till 9 o'clock, just an open Zoom where I take one client at a time. Like, I leave people in waiting rooms so they can just one at a time, so it doesn't, you know, people can have some confidentiality. And I just provide a ton of content. So, you know, if I can help as many people as I can around the world with some content to help them grow, it's great. And you know, I tell people what to do, and the people that really know how to do, want to know how to do it specifically for them. My clients are typically successful people who are stuck, need to get unstuck and stay consistently unstuck. So those are the people that typically come to me for coaching, whether it's a CEO, a manager, a salesperson, a VP of sales, anyone in the business world.
And I'm gonna, you know, tell you right off the bat that Jon and I met one day, and I sat down with a cup of coffee, and I said, I want to move a little bit. I am stuck. I mean, you know, and it wasn't that I didn't have clients. It wasn't that I wasn't busy.
Right.
I was doing great. It wasn't any of that. And so anybody out there who is being successful, that doesn't mean you're not stuck. And because when I sat with Jon, believe me, I felt very successful. But I felt like I needed that next.
Yeah.
And so did Jon. Jon felt like I needed a little bit of something different. And I will say this, that, you know, Jon's right. You need mentors. You need many different mentors. And so Jon knows this. He is definitely one of my mentors.
Oh, thanks.
He makes me do things I love that I wouldn't normally do, you know, to just step outside of my comfort zone, you know, and
you're doing a great job.
So, and I love just talking to you. We'll talk offline this week.
Yeah.
We have stuff to talk about,
Yeah.
but I know you got to jump on your own Facebook Live. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much for coming on and talking to me.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. You know, I just want to say this once, you know, you were one of my first launch guests on my Think Business podcast almost 3 years ago. So, you know, thanks for everything you do for me. I appreciate it. I would not be on any news network if it wasn't for you. So.
Well, we definitely have. Well, thank you. We definitely have some news network things to do this week. Yeah. So everybody, you'll see, you know, check out my Facebook, because God knows I like to post. my segments there and everything. But hop on over to Jon Dwoskin's Facebook at noon, a few minutes, and who's on today?
We have a cool couple guests. So on Wednesdays at noon, I work with I co-host with Randy Denha. And so today we're interviewing Alex Calderon. He's a managing director at Calderon Advisory Group. And I may be getting his name wrong, but Nishat Halani, who is a he's with Strategic Commercial Capital Partners. And we're just talking about what's going on in the market today.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
So should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be really interesting.
Yeah, and then all next week is Kids Week. So I'm interviewing all kids next week.
I saw your post today.
Yeah, all kids next week. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. It's all kids doing entrepreneurial, fun, great things. So, and let me just say Sari, as we close, if anybody wants to call me, I answer my own phone, 248-535-7796. I think, we talk about PR and marketing and branding. To me, answering your own phone, I think, is just a great thing.
I always say, when you call, you get me too.
Right. All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Switch over to Jon today and watch him. Thanks everyone for watching Spotlight on Small Business with Jon Dwoskin today.
Thanks, Sari. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks.
Bye.